Hello everyone, I'm Lamai. One thing I enjoy most about POE2 is theory crafting. I like spending time on POE2DB, connecting ideas, testing interactions, and solving problems through trial and error. The builds I make aren't always the strongest, but discovering new interactions is part of the fun for me. I'm still playing melee totems. And this is my build diary for this league. Like previous leagues, I started with Gemling Legionnaire. League start was comfortable. I leveled with Rolling Slam early on. My first Exalted Orb went into buying a Shiaba Temple Mall. After that, I continued leveling with Earth Shatter and Warcry supported by Astral Projection once Red Flare Conduit became available. Near level 50, I upgraded my mace again and started crafting a heavy Gretamer. I used that weapon all the way into endgame. The strength requirement felt comfortable, I didn't have to chase attributes, and the damage was good enough to finish the game. Along the way, I spent some time trying the new skills and getting familiar with the patch changes. I skipped a patch, so I had some catching up to do. As I said earlier, the fun comes in many layers. During breaks from work, I kept opening POE2DB and asking myself, is there another way to generate totems besides the method I used last league? I found a few interesting things. One of them was the reworked Ancestral Bond. But honestly, I didn't want to travel all the way to the upper left side of the passive tree. I also liked the benefits I was getting from consuming endurance charges. Then I discovered that Powered by Verisium can interact with Infusion of Power. Firestorm can consume all 3 elemental infusions at the same time. That means if I continue using my old amulet, Serpent's Egg, a single cast can generate 6 endurance charges immediately. The skill effect looked pretty nice too. At that point it almost felt like I wasn't playing a melee totem build anymore. But using a wide variety of skills without worrying too much about attributes has always been one of the strengths of Gemling Legionnaire. Eventually, pressing all those buttons started getting a little tiring. So I started looking for ways to automate the process. That naturally led me to cast on mechanics. In previous patches, I used a weapon swap setup with Sacrifice and Profane Ritual for boss fights. So I looked at cast on minion death and started searching for ways to kill minions quickly. In POE1, my first thoughts would be things like Dark Pact, minion instability, or Infernal Legion. Unfortunately, Dark Pact is now tied to a staff. Then I discovered Minion Pact. It's a support gem that works somewhat similarly to Dark Pact. It sacrifices nearby minion life in exchange for more damage. I linked Minion Pact to Firestorm in Weapon Set 2. When I cast Firestorm, nearby skeletons lose enough life to trigger minion instability and explode. That activates cast on minion death, which automatically casts Powered by Verisium. A single Firestorm cast in Weapon Set 2 automatically swaps to my Scepter setup, kills the skeletons, triggers cast on minion death, and generates enough endurance charges for 2 totems. Just make sure the minion life is calculated correctly. There were other useful interactions too. For example, Lingering Illusion generates power charges when I dodge. It's simple, but very convenient during boss fights. The passive tree also had several possible routes. Fortunately, POE2's weapon set passive tree system lets me dedicate weapon set 2 to Infusion of Power without affecting the rest of the build. That meant I no longer needed Red Flare Conduit. Without Red Flare Conduit, I started using Loreweave instead. Loreweave feels very good on Gemling Legionnaire because of quality of all skills. It also helps compensate for not taking Thaumaturgical Infusion for resistances. I also anointed Paragon on my amulet for another source of quality of all skills. The rest of the gear is fairly straightforward. Gem quality scaling on Gemling opens up a lot of possibilities and makes the build much more flexible. Everything ended up more or less where it is now. I can still see room for upgrades. But I probably won't chase them. My league will likely end here. Path of Exile is a fun game, but it's also a game that can consume a lot of our time if we're not careful. So this is my Sunder melee totem build for this league. And this is where my build diary ends. Thanks for watching.